What's up, y'all? And welcome back. And yes, you saw the title. We are going to talk about Taylor Swift. And that might feel very random or out of left field, but I promise you by the end of this video, you are going to learn a couple things, more than a couple things, about what Taylor Swift can teach all of us about love, legacy, and vulnerability. If you are someone that is trying to post on the internet and you have felt that you are too messy, your story is too vulnerable, or there's so much shame around what you've been through, Taylor Swift has been like grade A marketing genius at what it looks like to turn your mess into a masterpiece. So I'm excited to like really dig in and talk about it, okay? Because as an entrepreneur, first of all, let me talk about Taylor Swift and my first association with her. So I went to school in Kansas, Baker University. So I lived in Kansas for 5 years. I played a double collegiate sport. I was in basketball and tennis. And all of my peers and all of my classmates listened to Taylor Swift. And it was a PWI, predominantly white institution. So naturally, I'm surrounded by country music and Taylor Swift. And at some point, I'm like, this girl's kind of catchy. I don't really listen, to this genre, but I love the pop. I don't know, I love the energy behind her music. And so I found myself like secretly listening to her songs even when I was away from my teammates. Like I would hear her with my teammates and then I would listen to her in private. And I was still kind of ashamed because I'm like, this cool black girl, what am I doing listening to Taylor Swift? But over the years, she really grew on me. And I think what I appreciate about her most is she's a lyricist. Like she's a songwriter. And you might think, depending on, whether you listen to her or not, you might not think she's the greatest vocalist, but she is incredibly talented at many instruments. And I think she's one of those people that I think she's always been smarter than her age and like wiser than her age. And so I can really relate to that level of maturity and vulnerability and depth. I think she's incredibly emotionally intelligent. Let me get a glass of water and take a deep breath, okay? I'm just a little excited about the engagement. So, yeah, I've appreciated her as just an intellectual. I really, yeah, I've really come to love that. My favorite album of hers is 1989. My favorite song of hers is I Know Places. And that song in particular made me feel like she was speaking to my inner rebel. That song is all about how you're living a life or dating someone and living out a love story that feels forbidden or unapproved of. And I felt like so much of my life wasn't approved of. So I don't know, that song isn't very happy. It's very grungy. And I appreciated, that song for that season of my life. Anyways, when I think about her now and how much of her music has stemmed from heartbreak, coming of age love stories and loss and pain, and, she's done interviews in the past where she talked about, as a teenager, her first couple albums were about love, but she had no firsthand experience with what it's like to be in love. She admitted that she's never been in love for many years. And so her songs were projecting what she thought love was like. And then when she actually experienced it, she was like, oh my goodness, this is actually traumatic. There's a lot of pain. There's a lot of heartbreak. There's a lot of loss. There's a lot of identity crisis. There's a lot of feeling like I'm never going to get my happily ever after. And I think something that society has done really well, unfortunately, is shame women into desiring or yearning love. And it is one of the most human things in the world to want to find your person. And she has made it so clear that that's a big pursuit of hers. And any other ambition that someone might have in life, we will praise it. Like, yeah, go for gold, train for the medal and do what it takes to get what you want. But when it comes to love, it's like we shame women for coming across as desperate or desiring something that is so deeply human. Like, ugh. So to want love, to desire love is very human. To write about love is incredibly brave. And to still pursue it and to find it and to keep it, like that is the ultimate goal in life. And when I think about everything that even I've done in life and all the things that I've experienced and all the journeys, that I've gone on, falling in love was one of my favorite stories, one of my favorite journeys, one of my favorite life lessons, because there's so much that you learn about yourself through the lens of someone else. So, okay, let's unpack number one, okay? So, first thing is your pain is your portfolio. I want you to write that down. Your pain is your portfolio. All of the messiest parts about your story that you are trying to hide in your diary, like Taylor's albums are literally her diary with melodies. She put like music behind her mess, and it's incredibly strategic and brilliant, because she's like, if the world is going to make me feel bad for having emotions, let me go ahead and make it a number one hit album, a number one hit song, a Billboard chart topper. Okay. So, whatever you feel is painful about your past or your story, I want you to consider that one of the most prized possessions of your portfolio. That is something that people want to hear from you, about you. It's what connects us. It's not that you have to be the most talented at anything in order to relate to people or to build a strong following. You have to be willing. You just have to be willing. Taylor Swift from day one was always willing to say, these are the messiest parts of my life, and I'm willing to make it into music. I'm willing to share it with the world. I'm willing to suffer public humiliation so many times, whether she was winning an award or not. The amount of times that what do they call them? The MCs, the hosts of award shows would make her the butt of jokes when, I mean, she was 18 sometimes, and it was really unfortunate. You see this girl at the time coming of age, being incredibly vulnerable and putting herself out there in a way no one that I was listening to was doing yet. So I just really appreciated that. And you might think of different chapters and pockets of her life and say, well, I could never do that. But after a decade or two, you just look at the life she's built and you look at the lane that she's standing in. When I think of two artists right now that are one of one, Taylor Swift and Beyonce, no one is competing with either of them. They're not even competing with themselves, because they're truly operating in beautiful places, in different places. Um, but for Taylor Swift, we're both the same age. And so I look at her as someone who, our journeys, it's not that they're mirrored, but they match. And I can really appreciate that, because I feel less alone and less crazy for some of the things that I go through, because I have a song that I can play. So just know that breakups, oversharing, heartbreak, it actually became the foundation of her brand. So if you feel like something might be too much today, it's actually what will resonate with people tomorrow. So share it, okay? And number two, vulnerability is viral. If you are looking for ways to blow up fast, and not saying that this is healthy, but just be vulnerable, not messy, not weird, not trauma dumping, but vulnerability is the art and the gift and the science of saying, society's shames so much of this one aspect of women's lives. I'm going to go ahead and own it. I'm going to bring an empowering narrative to it. And I'm going to liberate myself so that no one else can make me feel bad about it. That is vulnerability. Owning your narrative of something painful from your past that you have overcome or gone through. And Taylor Swift has never shied away from speaking up about naming and shaming, some of the men that did her wrong. And I think in a world that doesn't hold men accountable enough, was it petty? Yes. But is it sometimes necessary? Also, yes. So I appreciate that, you know, I don't know, she was always willing. And I think sometimes um, we're all drawn to real stories. And it's not that you have to be polished or perfect, but I think her heart posture has always remained as, listen, I'm just a girl. I just want love. I'm just out here looking for my Prince Charming. I'm just out here doing my best and trying. I'm failing at love, something that is incredibly vulnerable. um, I'm also not even sure what I want. And people don't often talk about that part of finding love. They often don't talk about that part of chasing your dream. the part where you're still discovering who you are and what you desire in life. And sometimes you're just alone and you want companionship. Like, it's very vulnerable to talk about something like that. But vulnerability, again, is viral. All right. And number three, know that your love story will be a part of your legacy. And relationships are interesting because whether platonic or romantic, people are constantly watching how you navigate the world and who you are in relationship with. Friendships, family partnerships, or family relationships, business partnerships, and romantic. Like, people are paying attention to that. And I think love becomes a part of someone's legacy, whether they want to or not. If you were to, run down Beyonce's life, it's hard to not mention Jay-Z as a part of her legacy because he's such a big part of her brand and her business and her visibility. So just know that love being a part of your legacy doesn't mean that you have to put your love story out there, but what is it about love that makes you who you are? What is it about the pursuit of love that makes you so deeply human? What is it about the mistakes from your love life that are humbling you in today's age? I just think it's a beautiful thing when you can recognize the lessons and the legacy that comes with love. And I think what Taylor Swift does so well is that she shows us that we can be personal, professional, and powerful at the same time. She's not trying to only show you one side of her for that to be, the most leveraged and monetized. She is probably the most humble billionaire you will ever see on the internet or online or in person at a concert. I think she has redefined what it looks like to be a billionaire. I'm sorry, at 35, like, you got Rihanna, who's a billionaire, but not through music. And so to see someone become a billionaire as a woman through music, that is a flex. That is a flex. And I'm just constantly in awe. And I study her not just as a musician, but as an entrepreneur, as a personal brand, as an artist, and as a human. And it's an enjoyable thing to do because she's just so lovable. And yeah, I just want the world for her. And I think the reason it's so easy for someone like her to break the internet over an engagement is because we're all kind of rooting for her. We're all hoping that the girl who has sang about love her entire life is finally getting the love story that she dreamed about over a decade ago. And it's also a reminder, I've said this already, but you're never too much for the right person. And when you make your requests known, it could land on the right ears. I feel like Travis, he literally just listened to her music and saw what she desired and studied it and said, okay, this is how I get the girl. And he got her. And there's something really pure about that. We think about Sierra and Russ, and then, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. And in both of those situations, you have the man that is literally praising and honoring and fawning over their ladies. And listen, say what you want, but choose the man who chooses you. Okay. If you want to be protected in love, choose who chooses you. If we as women are out there choosing men, they sit back because they got options. But a man who pursues and chooses and selects, that's who you got to go for because that's the type of man that will honor and cherish. And I mean, you just see them together and it's so pure. If you haven't already, check out the New Heights podcast, where Taylor is talking literally for 2 hours in a way that I don't think she's ever done before, which is incredible. Many people think that at that point, or maybe that day, is when the engagement happened, or she had already known it was on the way and that's why she agreed to the podcast. I don't know, we're not going to speculate, but I just love that she got this opportunity to really be in this place where she's releasing an album under really joyful circumstances. I think some of the drama, if we're being honest, around her album releases were we got to speculate who it was about. We got to think like, okay, like who's gonna get dogged, and what like breakup anthem is it gonna be for this summer? So I really love that we're getting to see a joyful, safe side of her through this season where she's been loved and held really well. So yeah, just know that Taylor Swift, her brand is not just about music. There's a lot of positioning there. There's a lot of marketing and personal branding. There's a lot of vulnerability. There's a lot of um, making your pain a part of your power. And that's something that any music lover can appreciate. Okay, again, this was a very random video, but I felt like I had to chime in with my 2 cents. If you're a Swiftie and I said something wrong, listen, I'm new here, okay? I don't even consider myself a Swiftie. I'm just someone who is a fan of intelligence and artistry. So I can really appreciate Taylor Swift as an entrepreneur. All right, y'all. Thank you for joining. And if you are new, like and subscribe. And be sure to check out the link in my description called mycreativereset.com. It is where you can have me for your coach for 90 days for 50 cents a day. And I take you through the process of clarifying your ideas, learning how to make money online, and just live a more fulfilling life. All right. Until next time, thanks for watching.